In July 2024, Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in his guest house, not in an active war zone, but right in the heavily guarded center of Tehran. Add in the thousands of exploding pagers targeting Hezbollah operatives and the massive theft of Iran's secret nuclear archives by foreign agents, and a serious question emerges. How is the security apparatus of a heavily militarized state this porous? To understand these modern blind spots, we have to rewind to November 1979, when Iranian students broke through the gates of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took dozens of Americans hostage. The world saw an impenetrable fortress. For 444 days, the newly established Islamic Republic projected an image of absolute authority. They defied the world's reigning superpower on camera and appeared untouchable. But while the television broadcasts showed a humiliating standoff for the Americans, the reality on the ground told a different story. In 1980, two separate covert operations proved that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard was flying completely blind to massive foreign incursions. By April 1980, diplomatic negotiations to free the hostages had stalled. With the situation deteriorating, U.S. President Jimmy Carter authorized a highly complex military rescue mission, Operation Eagle Claw. The logistical scale of this operation was massive. The plan required heavy C-130 transport planes and a fleet of helicopters to fly directly into Iranian airspace under the cover of darkness. This map illustrates the sheer depth of the infiltration. American forces bypassed border defenses and navigated hundreds of miles inland, aiming for a remote staging area known as Desert 1 in the Tapas Desert. Once they landed, the operation rapidly devolved into chaos. American troops encountered a fuel smuggler's truck and accidentally blew it up, lighting the night sky. Minutes later, they had to intercept and hijack a civilian passenger bus passing through the desert to keep their location a secret. A massive fireball and a hijacked bus full of civilians should trigger an immediate military response. Yet the Iranian Revolutionary Guard failed to detect the invasion force. The Americans sat in the middle of the country, making noise, and no one came looking. The mission ultimately collapsed, but not because of Iranian defenses. A severe sandstorm disabled several helicopters. During the hasty retreat, a helicopter collided with a transport plane, killing 8 American servicemen and leaving charred wreckage across the desert floor. The United States defeated itself. But from an intelligence perspective, Operation Eagle Claw exposed that Iranian national security was non-existent in its own backyard. While the military struggled, a second major security failure was unfolding right inside the capital. 6 American embassy staff members had managed to slip away during the initial embassy takeover, taking refuge in the Canadian ambassador's residence. The Revolutionary Guard knew they were missing a few diplomats, but they were bogged down in a tedious bureaucratic manhunt. They spent countless hours meticulously taping together large bags of shredded embassy documents to reconstruct the identities of the escapees. While Iranian guards played with paper scraps, the CIA moved quickly. They established a fake Canadian sci-fi movie production called Argo, claiming they needed exotic, alien-looking landscapes to shoot their film. The fake production company bypassed Iranian security by operating out in the open. They held official meetings with the Iranian Ministry of Culture and secured legitimate filming permits from the very government actively hunting for American spies. The climax of the heist didn't require a shootout or a high-speed chase. The 6 escapees, posing as the Canadian film crew, walked right up to the customs counter at the Tehran airport. Iranian agents inspected their forged Canadian passports, stamped them, and let them board a commercial flight out of the country. The Revolutionary Guard was so fixated on internal purges and shredded paper that they let high-value targets slip away using a fake movie poster and fabricated paperwork. With the military rescue in ashes and all covert extraction options completely exhausted, the remaining 52 hostages were still trapped. The United States had to rely on a neutral third party to broker a deal. That responsibility fell to Algerian Foreign Minister Mohammed Sadiq Ben Yahia. He orchestrated the complex diplomatic negotiations required to finally secure the hostages' release. Tragically, Ben Yahia's diplomatic career was cut short. A year later, while attempting to mediate the escalating Iran-Iraq war, he died in a mysterious plane crash near the Iranian border. Even the final hostage release was a calculated act of political theater. Ayatollah Khomeini intentionally delayed signing off on the agreement until the exact moment Jimmy Carter's successor, Ronald Reagan, was sworn into office, weaponizing the crisis to maximize the electoral damage to Carter. The resolution of the 444-day standoff was a masterclass in political timing and Algerian diplomacy. But the triumphant parades in Tehran masked a severe underlying vulnerability. Iran's internal security had been repeatedly and easily compromised. History recorded the events of 1980 as a humiliating string of disasters for the United States, but the lasting legacy of that year was the exposure of a gaping blind spot in Iranian counterintelligence. Operation Eagle Claw and the Canadian Caper proved that foreign operatives could physically enter the country, move around freely, interact with government officials, and leave entirely undetected. These early failures draw a direct line to the assassinations and intelligence leaks seen today. Modern operations by Israeli and American intelligence don't require magic. They exploit the exact same systemic flaws that existed over 4 decades ago. Which leaves a final question. Is Tehran truly unaware of these massive, decades-old security gaps? Or are they simply unable to fix a system that has been broken since the very first days of the revolution?